You've survived another week. Thank you for listening, downloading, and supporting the Black Man with a Gun Show, the Responsible Gun Owners Podcast. This week, Everyday Carry. Got a conversation with Michael, and he talks about 5 things you need to know about EDC. Mike's going to share the effective ways to train on a budget, and I got a little Georgia on my mind in our history segment. And then I'm going to get personal and share something I got going on at the end of the show. All this and more coming up next on episode number 579 of your favorite righteous podcast, The Black Man with a Gun Show. I want to tell you up front, I had a good time with this episode. I put a little bit of you, a little bit of me, a little bit of us in this thing. I realized last week that having a co-host can be a benefit. You know, Michael has helped me in times when I was frustrated with the politics of gun rights. His being new and still excited to the movement is sometimes contagious. I've been blessed and cursed by being in the Second Amendment community long enough to see folks come and go, not get compensated or appreciated for what I've done, and see some new people get kudos for less work. You will hear, I hope, an improvement in my attitude on this week's show. And I've been doing this thing for over 20 years. And I'm becoming the grumpy old man behind the microphone. I'm trying to stop. I swear I am. JW, take us away.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
5 things you should know about EDC. Michael, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. Just enjoying this week. Getting some things done and possibly gonna hit up the range and zero this new scope that I got.
Oh, nice. What distance you be shooting at?
This right here is just going to be zeroing. So I'm gonna start it off at 25 meter, get my 25 meter zero, which is basically 100 meter to 300 meter zero, and get this new scope and new rifle competition ready.
Do you use shooting rest when you do it, or you doing it offhand?
No, I do it just like we do it in the military. Just throw that magazine in there, set the rifle on top of the magazine, and go at it.
Really?
Yeah, man. I don't do anything fancy. When I do my shooting stuff, and a lot of people think I'm like bougie like that for some reason. but yeah, like if you ever see me, like when I mount a scope, like if you go on Instagram, I showed a picture of my rifle with the new scope on it. But if you see me do it, man, I got like some those balancing beams with the water in it and the bubble,
little leveling thing.
Yeah, I use that, and I use like a flat part and the stairs, because you know something in your house has to be a perfect square, and I just use the top rafter of the steps, balance it out, and sit there and look for the bubble, start tightening things down. I get ghetto with it, but it works. You know?
You have to write that down, man. That's gonna be like a whole new thing right there. We start something new.
Yeah, I was gonna put it on video. But the whole thing is, you know, like when you do stuff like that, everybody wants to talk, just like the shade tree mechanic, you know, like the guy who repairs your car in the shed out in the dirt, no cement around. Yeah. You know, so that's the only reason why I never put it on video, because I don't want to hear the backlash, you know, because I'm like, yo, I've been doing this for years. If it worked for me, so hey, I'm gonna keep it going.
You might do better in written form. That's nobody gonna read. The people who are trolls don't read. They'll just comment stuff on video. But everybody else that reads will be appreciative that you gave them a step.
Yeah. Normally, like if somebody was to write me and say, what do you do or how do you do this? I'll tell them. I mean, it's no big secret.
Okay.
You know? It's all common sense. In my opinion, it's common sense. But, you know, as far as the whole, like, putting it out there, normally I just tell people like, hey, just go on video and look at it.
Okay.
But if somebody directly writes me and say, hey, how do you do this? Or can you give me a tip? I'll tell them my process of how to do it.
Nice. EDC. Yep. When and where to carry a gun is a little like when and where to go naked. In either case, there'll be times and places where you'll find it comfortable, and there's even times and places where others will be happy that you're in that condition. But there's also some times and places when it's inappropriate, when it's offensive, and even illegal. We're talking about concealed carry this week, and you've been carrying and you teach concealed carry, so I'm gonna let you take it from here.
All right, so we're talking about EDC. So for those who do not know, EDC means everyday carry. But let me ask you a question right quick, Ken.
Right.
What are 5 things you think you should carry or you need for EDC?
A right holster, the right clothing, the right gun, training, and what's the fourth? The last piece would be maybe extra mag.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take it a step further. Okay. So I say for your everyday carry, EDC, you need mindset, skills, tactics, gear, and insurance. All right. So now I'm going to break it down for you. The mindset portion, I do believe if you conceal carry, you need to have the proper mindset, knowing that there is that likely chance that you might shoot someone, either hurt or kill. But also with mindset, depending on where you are in the situation, I believe you need to go in with an aggressive mindset. Meaning if I pull this out, I know for a fact I have to do this. There's no backing down, because once the danger hits, I have to go forward with it. I'm not running from it. So the mindset is important portion with this part of the EDC. Skills, this goes back into the whole, training, shooting, and understanding what you are capable of doing with this firearm. All right. Tactics. This is what you're going to get when you go to a reputable school, whereas you're going to learn how to shoot behind cover. You're going to learn how to manipulate the trigger. You're going to learn how to look at the sights. You're going to learn how everything plays a part, so you know how to effectively get from point A to point B with this firearm in the event you have to use it. But you have to keep practicing to keep this skill relevant in your body. And then, of course, your gear. You can't go out here and buy no fly-by-night stuff, so everybody recommends, for me anyway, I always recommend people to get a Kydex holster. The lowest. That's the lowest I would go is a Kydex holster. If somebody comes up with a nylon holster or something like material cloth, I tell them get rid of that, go with Kydex. And then from Kydex, you can always go up, and then the last thing is insurance. So if you are someone who conceals carry, I always recommend that you have to seek out some form of insurance like USCCA and get yourself covered in the likely chance that something's going to happen. So normally when you ask people that question, when it comes to EDC, that's the first thing people always say is the gear portion, but they don't think outside the realm of that.
Nice. Depending on where you live, it's called CCW, CPL, CWP, or CHL. How's it defined in South Carolina?
CWP, Concealed Weapons Permit.
Okay. Remember that responsibility comes with that concealed weapon. In many places, the first offense for illegally carrying a gun is a felony. And even if you get charged with a misdemeanor, all that means technically is that you can get locked up for 364 days versus another day to make it a whole year. CCW and concealed carry is now, there's some provision in it in 48 states across the continental U.S., but they're all different. Some have may issue, some have shall issue, and then the best ones have constitutional.
For a lot of people, the shall issue, that is a problem in some places. So, that's more like, oh, we don't like you, so we're not going to give it to you.
Yeah. So. That was how I got started in this whole thing. Back in 91, when I first started, they used me as a speaker, spokesperson of color to actually go to Virginia, because back in the day, you could get a firearms permit, concealed carry, but the sheriff had to like you. The constable had to like you. If you didn't look right to them, didn't matter how upstanding citizen you were, that didn't matter. If you didn't like the way you looked, you got denied. So it kind of began this movement that we have now. Folks kind of take it for granted, but it's been going on since about 76 of concealed carry. And I remember when I first got started, Florida was a spot. Everybody was talking about Florida. They called it the gunshine state. There was this lady that was in charge of the Unified Sportsmen of Florida, and she finally became president of the NRA for a minute, Marion Hammer. She got the concealed carry passed down there, and folks went nuts back in '87. And they said that concealed carry was going to turn Florida into a Dodge City, that the blood is going to flow in the streets. Fender benders would turn into firefights, but it never did. And after a while, next thing you know, concealed carry, it kind of moved across the country. And I was a part of that. It's kind of cool.
You know, the one thing that's pretty touching to me is when you leave that decision for one person to make for everybody, you know, so I can go down there. No, you're not going to get it, but you go down there. Okay, we're going to give it to you. All right. Yeah. But it's all based off of some biased decision that they came up with.
Totally.
You know, so because back when I first started looking at suppressors, that's how they used to do suppressors also. Whereas you had to go down to the sheriff's office and had to take some paperwork to him for him to sign it to say yay or nay.
Yeah.
You know? And
I just saw a movie last night called Assault on Precinct 13, and it was a good movie. It was a good movie. It was a remake of the original one in the 70s, where the fear was a suppressed weapons, and they had this gang that was shooting these suppressed firearms at this police station, and it's a little bit different from the modern version of it. But this one had so many crazy scenes in it that weren't true. Like they had suppressors on revolvers that these gangs were shooting at people, and I watched this guy with a pump shotgun shoot 3 rounds before he pumped the shotgun. It was pretty amazing. And I was like, wow, check that dude out. He was blasted. Blam, blam, blam. Then he cocked it back. And I was like, ooh, what a fancy pump shotgun that is. But if you're a gun guy or gun lady, check out Assault on Precinct 13. The original one is it's in the 70s, and it will crack you up.
Oh man, you know, speaking of movies, one movie that I enjoy watching is Heat, and I like watching Heat only for the gunfire scene
in the middle of the street.
Yes, but it's realistic though. That was like
tactically it was on.
Yeah, they was doing some real research of, hey, let's go to the range, let's do this, let's talk to somebody about this. But whoever was that coordinator for that, they made that realistic, and that's the one part of the movie that I really enjoy.
Yeah, that was like a John Wick moment for back then. John Wick began some training.
Well, you know, John Wick, Keanu Reeves, he actually does shooting for real life.
Yeah.
But they were saying like he wasn't as good as he was for the movie until they put him in that was it Terran Tactical School? Yeah,
I've seen a couple of his trainers, even in his martial artist is a dude on a Twitter handle that I do, and they always share whenever they like get a chance to train with him. I'm like, man, what a job.
Yeah, that's nice right there.
Yeah.
And, you know, this right here is going to make you laugh also. But, you know, actors are real people also, regardless if they're a comedian or if they're like a thriller actor or whatever. Right. Al Bundy.
Oh, yeah.
He's a black belt.
Yeah. I heard
Al Bundy's a black belt. And when I first came across that article and I read it, I was like, what? Because he ended up stopping somebody from either robbing him or robbing somebody else. I can't remember exactly how it went, but came out that he was a black belt
in Taekwondo or Jiu-Jitsu or what?
Jiu-jitsu.
You know, in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Who else that I know about? It's a couple of rappers that do Jiu-Jitsu also. A lot of actors that do it for because they only do it for the exercise portion of it. And what's my man's name? He was married. I think he was married to Demi Moore, but he was younger than her. Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he has some martial arts too.
Yeah, this was like 2 years ago, a year or two ago. I know he was a purple belt, so I don't know if he stuck with it or if he advanced further or not.
Yeah.
But at the time, I found out he was a purple belt, and I was like, and I heard Joe Rogan talking about that one. That's the only reason I knew that.
Okay, cool, man. And just put a caveat in here: deadly force is only permissible in a situation of immediate, otherwise unavoidable danger of death or great bodily harm to oneself or another innocent person that you have the right to protect. We're not talking about just concealed carry or concealed weapons permits for just to be bragging. You're doing this for a reason. And that's why Michael said mindset was important. Don't forget that. You said mindset, your gear, your tactics, your skills, and insurance, right?
Correct. Not in that order, but yeah.
I got dyslexia, man. That's how I go. My brain works.
You got it. If you want to add a sixth one in there, learn how to defend yourself with your hands, whether it be boxing, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, whatever, some form of a martial art, which means fighting, martial art.
Totally.
Learn something so you know how to react under that pressure and stress.
Yeah. The key thing is once you become a gun rights person, once you become a gun person, you learn about the use of force. You learn about your shortcomings as a person. And it should motivate you to fix those weak points. If you are a person of smaller stature, you want to do something before or after you don't have your gun. You want to make sure that if you have just an ink pen available, that you can use that thing properly. You always want to be in the right mind, not to be a victim. And it has nothing to do with the gun. The gun, we fight this thing all the time about gun rights, but it's a mindset of a warrior. It's a person who is not going to let themselves be a victim anymore. And the gun is just another tool. Don't get caught up and think that you got to buy a Desert Eagle because that's what they have on television. You want to buy the firearm. And you didn't mention that either about the type of firearm. That's an EDC gun, whether it has to be a big gun or a little gun.
Well, each state has their regulations of the length of the firearm. Like, you can't walk around with a shotgun and call that a concealed firearm. You know what I'm saying? You can, but be prepared to go to jail.
Right.
But, like handgun, whatever your preference is whatever you desire. Just understand, you walking around with a Desert Eagle for your concealed weapon, you got to deal with the ramifications, what comes after that, considering somebody who normally carries 9mm or 40 or maybe a 380, and I know a few people that carry 22s around for concealed carry. No.
I think, I forget who said it. Might have been Clinton Smith or maybe John Farnham. Somebody might even be a Bill Rogers, somebody way back in the day, my era, and said that the best concealed carry gun is the one that you got. So don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in the gun. Don't get caught up in the gun sales and what you see in the magazine or on YouTube.
Yeah, because I've always said, it doesn't matter if you get Smith & Wesson, Glock, SIG. It doesn't matter whatever you get. Get whatever feels comfortable in your hand, whatever you feel comfortable shooting. But whatever tool you get, you have to learn how to master that tool with training and practice. That's
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Folks want to buy stuff and then never train, never go to the range, never get past basics. And they think they're straight, but you're not.
I remember back when I first came out, started putting it out there like, I'm going to start teaching people how to shoot. And it seemed like all my friends was, hey, I want to get some trigger work done. And I was more like, learn how to shoot and master the gun before you upgrade it, because you might not have to upgrade that trigger.
Yeah.
Because if you can shoot, you can shoot. If you can't shoot, there ain't too much going to help you. So, but I had a lot of people like hitting me up about modifications to the gun. What can they do to get better? I'm more like,
everybody learn how to shoot.
Yeah, like, man, that's just like when you learn how to drive. I don't know about you, but my dad was like, here, you're going to take this car.
Right.
So if you wreck it, I ain't worried about it. You know, same thing with your gun. Whatever you buy, if you bought it stock, keep it stock until you feel like you're used to it. You know, just like when you ride a motorcycle, you feel like you're used to a motorcycle after 3 days, but you really don't know how to look at the road, take the curve, you know, read traffic and all that. Same thing with a handgun. You learn the ins and outs of it before you just jump into the Ferrari of the guns.
Yeah. Sometimes people think that heavy trigger is a negative, but it's there on purpose. The New York trigger, the triggers that are heavy, are made so that you don't make an accident happen in a stressful situation. When that adrenaline dump hits you and you get fired up and you're scared to death, you won't even know that thing is like 12 pounds. You don't want a hair trigger when you're nervous, and training will save your life, both in and out of the jail. Once you know the reasons for stuff, changes everything. But if you just go to buy your gun, you got a used gun from somebody and the trigger is heavy and you don't know anything about that nomenclature or the firearm that you have, then you got issues. You got to go past the simple and you got to go a little bit deeper and find somebody who knows.
That's so true, but that goes back into that mindset portion we talked about. Yeah. You know, which handgun was that? I think it was the Beretta. Mm-hmm. They said like if you can perfect or if you can shoot really good with the Beretta handgun, like all the practice and timing you got to put into it, you perfected every other trigger out there.
Oh, because it's difficult.
It's heavy. It's so heavy. You know.
Yeah, it's made to be army proof, to be the soldier proof.
Yeah. So like if you can sit there and keep a steady aim and just keep keyholing, you master everything else out there.
Yeah, revolvers can do that too. But folks want to shortcut that thing and go cowboy and pull the hammer back. But if you can master that double, my mind just went blank.
Double action.
That's the word, man. I can't get it out.
Hey, I knew you was gonna get it. I was just gonna sit here and pull my popcorn out.
I know, right? A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah, I knew you had it though. You know, people with revolvers the other day when I went to the gun store. Mm-hmm. But you know, my whole thing is I'm not really a revolver guy. Mm-hmm. I have one, and the only time I really carried it is like when I rode my motorcycle.
Mm-hmm. Why then?
The whole thing is I'm right-handed, so your throttle's on your right hand, right? And of course, I carried my gun appendix. So, but I used to carry the revolver in my left pocket. So in the event that I'm riding, if something did happen, I could just pull out that, you know, bust off a couple shots and either get away or stop. You know, like, so that's how my mind operated. Like I just need a few seconds so I can stop this machine, jump off, and now, you know, my skills are coming into play. You know, but yeah, so that's how it played out for me. You know, I never ankle carried. I tried it a few times. I just didn't feel comfortable with it.
Let me tell you an ankle carry story. I was overseas and we were doing a protective detail. And when we got to the hotel, they were doing a 100% pat down check on all foreigners. So they made you surrender your passport and they were searching us before we can even get into the hotel lobby. And all the people on my detail freaked out because, again, to have a gun in this country, you get taken away to jail. But we were here to protect somebody important. So they like all ran back to their car, trying not to be obvious, put their Browning high powers back in the vehicles. And I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm keeping my gun. Plus, I'm taking another one. So I had 2 Browning high powers and I started to stick it in my sock. And I had one in a Bianchi, like a man purse, which when I got to the door and the guy said, I need to check into your bag. I said, all right, fine. I opened it and it had like this little concealed compartment in there. And he says, okay. So when he started using the wand, I lifted my hands up and then did a little dance and he just avoided it. So I'm thinking, all right, slick. I got through. But I had this Browning in my sock, which is not a good holster. So I'm walking in the lobby and the Browning falls out of my sock. So I kick it because, of course, when you kick something, it spins and you can barely see it. So it looked like a fidget spinner and I booted it toward the elevator. So I'm running like down this lobby with this gun in front of me spinning, hoping that nobody's noticing down that there's like the spinning gun in front of me.
and I'm like running with it, and the elevator door opens up, and it opens and it falls right in there, and the thing closes, and I pick my gun up and go, "Thank you, Jesus."
Oh man, I ain't had no stories like that because normally if I see a sign that says don't bring your handgun in or no concealed weapons, I just don't give them my business.
Yeah. But this one was I was working for the government, and there was a war going on in the country we were in, and I was not going to protect me or the principal with just some harsh words at the time. So I had to risk it.
Give me a slingshot and some rocks, I'll be good.
I know, right? My name ain't David. I needed more than the sling here.
Yeah. So, but going back to the whole skill portion, actually, that once again that backs up the whole mindset that you was conscious enough to realize what would have happened, what would have took place, and what to do to cover it up, but keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
But the skill portion of it was okay. You kept kicking it to give the illusion that it was something else.
Yeah.
So obviously you practiced that somewhere in your life, maybe as a child or
somewhere.
So, but it was quick thinking. You thought on your feet. I can't even talk right now.
I thought with my feet. So that was good though. I survived. And then we got to the room, and I actually passed my extra Browning to another officer. And we're like, all right, my man is doing it. But
now, if somebody was to ask you what type holster to carry or anything of the such, what would you recommend?
I'm a big proponent of in the waistband hybrid holsters. Like the reason I even deal with crossbreed holsters is because I actually believe in it. I like that leather against the body with the Kydex mixed together. I've used everything. I started off with the cheap stuff. I've even had a couple of really good cross draw holsters, which they're like horrible on the range and horrible everywhere else except for in the bathroom. If you got to carry a gun for a long time, all day long, and travel, a cross draw, man, is the bomb. If you got to go to a foreign country and then have some Montezuma's revenge, and you can still be armed. So I got reasons for everything, but I think in the waistband, a hybrid holster. Got to have some leather because leather just breathes. Sometimes I even use Black Hawk Serpa. I was like pretty fond of that one too. That one locks. That one has a really good retention, but you got to practice that thing because it has like a really funky thumb brake that's built onto it. I use that's outside the waistband. That's my favorite when I'm doing a course or a class somewhere, and all I have to do is put a Hawaiian shirt or a t-shirt underneath of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not a big fan of the Black Hawk Serpa.
Okay.
And the only reason being is when we was deployed overseas, we was doing some training, and we was just doing some different stuff on the range.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was like somebody took you down and you had to get up and engage the target, and they tell you like what to shoot. And we had like triangle, square, yellow, golden pin, whatever the test was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the soldiers had the Black Hawk Serpa.
Which level do you know?
I can't really remember. This was back in like 2005.
They got some ones that you ain't getting that bad boy out. It just locks in there.
Yeah. So, but dirt got up in there, and that little lever you got to push to pull it out. That joker sitting there steadily pushing it. Nothing was happening, and we had to like take it apart in order to get the firearm out of it.
Oh yeah, that'll do it for me if that happened.
Yeah. So that was the only reason. I don't recommend people to train with that one. They might have fixed it by now, but I'm not certain. But with me, when I talk to people, I always tell them I don't go for that one because I always explain the story.
Well. If I was going to take a class like that now, that's the one I'd pick actually because I've used it enough.
Yeah. Now, man, I got like about 10 different holsters.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a box.
Yeah, so like over the course of the year.
Yeah, you're gonna have a box.
So normally, like if I was to recommend a holster to somebody, I always tell them to either go with a JM4, NSR, or Bravo concealment. But if you go with the JM4, get the Relic series because that's more like Kydex also, but it's lined inside with leather.
Okay,
you know?
yeah. Gotta have
And
a
then
hybrid.
yeah, so everybody knows who Bravo Concealment is. Everybody, well, not a lot of people know who NSR is also, but all of them are great holster companies. But the most comfortable holster I have to this day is a friend of mine in Florence, South Carolina, who trains jiu-jitsu with me also. He makes holsters just for a hobby. I just showed him a picture of one and I was like, yeah, man, I want to get something like this, but they want $180 for that. That's too much. I'm not paying that much for a holster. Right? Just joking around with him. And, of course, he asks certain questions and I told him the answer. And then about 2 weeks later, he was like, hey man, I got something for you. Gave me a holster. And I was like, man, I'm going to try this out. So, I wore it around for about 2 weeks and that's my go-to.
Okay. I like the old fashioned all leather joints too, but
leather stretches also.
But usually by the time that thing is done, I'm chucking it. So it has to while it's good, because then you got the lightweight, and it's not something I'm gonna use at a course, or it's gonna be like more than once. It's like once I break the seal on this thing, then that's it. I wanted to like secure the firearm at one time, and if I got to go in a motion, then I'm not gonna be putting that thing back or nothing. So I don't care about the Kydex. Like when you at a range at a competition, you gotta reload and load safely and all that stuff. Right. You ain't getting that with no leather. You gotta like make sure you don't pinch your waist and squeeze the thing open and try to get it in there and all that. So it just depends. Everything's like clothing. It has to be for the reason that you're getting it.
Yeah. So of course the audience won't be able to see this, but this is the holster. That I was telling you about.
Okay.
So I believe in carrying an extra magazine with the handgun, of course, but then too you can also separate it and then wear the magazine portion on one side and have this on the other side. But I like it together like this.
And that's the way you train.
Yeah, this is how I train.
Yeah, that stuff matters. You gotta train how you're gonna shoot.
Yeah, the only reason I like that setup is because as soon as I shoot one round and I finish firing, automatically I'm changing the magazine in case of a counterattack or something.
Right.
To be prepared, but even so, yeah, that's just how I am.
That's
right. But this right here is that JM4 Relic that I was talking about.
Yeah, a whole bunch of look like that.
Yeah, so this isn't Kydex. This is made out of Boltron, a polymer called Boltron.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it has like the leather on the inside.
Ah, okay.
Very beautiful. But this one, because I rather carry appendix carry, but this one is one that you carry at the 3 o'clock position. But they do make the Relic series and appendix carry also. So
because I'm a relic.
Yeah. So, but like I said, but for whatever reason, this one right here, and I keep telling my buddy to go ahead and put these in production. So he told me to come up with a name for it. And I was like, okay. I can't remember what I exactly told him. I was just goofing off one night. And he was like, yeah, it sounds good to me. I think I said something like cargo and passenger or something silly like that.
Be on the store tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here were 5 things for you to consider with EDC. And Michael and I have been just cutting the fat and having a good time. I'm hoping that you got something out of this. And if you got any questions or comments, critiques, feel free to send us a note. And you'll find us both at blackmanwithagun.com.
Need some ammo? Check out ammo.com. It's your best source for ammunition online. The shipping is fast, the customer service is good, and they sell name brands you can trust. Ammo.com. And if you like saving money as much as I do, use the link ammo.com/blackmanwithagun. How cool is that? Did I hit it? Ammo.com. marylandshallissue.org. It's an all-volunteer, nonpartisan organization dedicated to the preservation and advancement of gun owners' rights in Maryland. It seeks to educate the community about the right of self-protection, the safe handling of firearms, and the responsibility that goes with carrying a firearm in public. marylandshallissue.org. This is the group, your group, the grassroots group in the state of Maryland. Join us, no matter where you are, marylandshallissue.org. And Michael, you're up again, buddy.
Today we're going to discuss ways to get effective training while at home or at the range. Whenever you hear people talking about training or practice with a firearm, it is mainly taking place at the range. Is this the only way that will help you get better? Let's talk about a few things that I think will assist you in improving your skill set. A number of people believe that you need the latest and greatest items to make your training necessary. But if you do not have the big name company backing you, let's figure out how we can get some quality training in without breaking the bank. 1. While at home, you can do a number of practice sessions from trigger manipulation, magazine reloads, and drawing from the holster, to name a few. But with each example given, all you need to do is contribute 5 minutes to each. If you do this every night, then your progress will show faster than someone that does this for 3 nights. Number 2, so you don't have the targets that you see while at the USPSA match or IDPA match. Majority of the time, you can recycle an already used target by placing a sheet of paper with designs that you printed from the computer, paper plates, paper cups, sticky pad paper, index cards, and the list can go on. Just remember, use your imagination, but keep it safe. Number 3, this is my favorite. The metal stands that is out of your budget. Have no fear. For the past couple of years, I've been using PVC pipe stands for when I go to the range. We will talk about this bill in a future video, but it's an effective measure that allows you to head to the range and get some good quality training with a DIY stand. These are some suggestions that can help you out, but just use your imagination and come up with a plan that will carry over after a training class to keep your skill set sharp. For those who are looking to contact me, visit blackmanwithagun.com and under the About tab, click on my name, Michael Woodland, and shoot me an email or a phone call. Please leave a voicemail or a text message, and I promise I will get back to you. Until next week, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun. Back to you, Ken.
This portion of the show is sponsored by CrossbreedHolsters.com. Crossbreed Holsters has gained national recognition as a maker of the best and most functional concealment holsters available on the market today. Each holster is handcrafted to ensure your firearm is safe and secure while carrying, combined with the best customer service in the industry. Visit CrossbreedHolsters.com.
A few years ago, a friend of mine started this thing called the United States Concealed Carry Association. It's an education, training, and self-defense insurance company now. It's for responsible gun owners. You can get complete peace of mind when you join USCCA today. If you carry a gun for self-defense, you need this. It's a whole package: education, training, and self-defense insurance. Call my friend. The number is 1-877-488-8353. And if you missed that, go to the link at blackmanwithagun.com for USCCA. Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia, Georgia, a song of you comes as sweet and clear as moonlight through the pines. You know, back in the 80s, there was a huge flux of migration, not really migration, but people were moving out of the cities. The crack wars, the cocaine, the drugs was heavy, and everybody wanted a simpler life, a better life. So a lot of folks who had done well, affluent, African Americans, for example, moved out of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., and they moved to Atlanta. There was a housing boom. I mean, and things really perked up in Georgia. In 1982, the Kennesaw City Council unanimously passed a law requiring heads of households to own at least one firearm with ammunition. The ordinances state the gun law was needed to protect the safety, security, and general welfare of the city and its inhabitants. Georgia joined a handful of other states allowing concealed carry, including Vermont, where no license was required, New Hampshire with a 1923 law, Washington, which made issuance almost mandatory in 1961, and Connecticut, where in 1969 a handgun review board was established to minimize arbitrary denials. And this, of course, was all before Columbine and Sandy Hook. But there was an underlying thought in Kennesaw. It was thought that it was to arm the citizens against the African Americans that were coming, the undesirables. Nobody in the gun community would say that out loud, but it was inferred. Georgia has a past, you know. In 1833, Georgia enacted a law that provided, quote, "It shall be lawful for any free person of color in this state to own, use, or carry firearms of any description, whatever. That the free person of color, so detected in owning, using, or carrying firearms shall receive upon his bare back 39 lashes, and that the firearms so found in the possession of said free person of color shall be exposed to public sale." This is Georgia. In 1848, the Georgia Supreme Court rules that, quote, "Free persons of color have never been recognized here as citizens. They are not entitled to bear arms." This is from Cooper and Worsham versus Savannah. In 1868 to 1870, in 1868, the white members of the Georgia House of Representatives and Senate expelled the 32 black members on the grounds that the state constitution did not recognize the right of black citizens to hold office. Following that expulsion, several hundred blacks and Republicans marched 30 miles from Albany, Georgia to Camilla, Georgia for a political rally to support of the removal of black legislatures and presidential candidate Ulysses Grant. Many of the blacks were armed with walking sticks, shotguns, and other various firearms. As the procession approached Camilla, the Mitchell County Sheriff, Munford S. Poore, rode out to meet the marchers and tell them not to enter the town with firearms. After his admonishment, the sheriff returned Camilla to organize an ambush of the marchers. When the marchers arrived at the courthouse square in Camilla, the white residents opened fire. The marchers bravely returned fire before retreating from the scene into the surrounding woods. One of the marchers, at least 9 were killed and nearly 30 wounded. 6 whites were reported slightly wounded. In his report to Georgia Governor Bullock, General George Gordon Meade assigned blame for the massacre on the marchers' refusal to obey the sheriff's orders not to bring arms into town. 2 years later, in 1870, the General Assembly prohibited the possession of guns at, quote, public gatherings. In 1870, law says that no person in said state of Georgia be permitted or allowed to carry about his or her person any dirk, bowie knife, pistol, or revolver of any kind of deadly weapon to any court of justice or any election ground or precinct or any place of public worship or any other public gathering in the state except militia muster grounds. If you fast forward just a few years to 20 2016, 2017, 2018, there is now the National African American Gun Association based out of Atlanta. And the goal of the National African American Gun Association is to have every African American introduced to firearm use for home protection, competition shooting, and outdoor recreational activity. They are a pro-Second Amendment organization focused on the preservation of our community through armed protection and community building. They welcome all people, all religions, all social and racial perspectives. And I think technically they're in Griffin, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta. And one of the best conferences I've ever attended was a part of GeorgiaCarry.org. GeorgiaCarry.org is Georgia's non-compromise voice for gun owners. Check it out, GeorgiaCarry.org. Georgia, Georgia, no peace I find, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. All right, that's the working man signal that is done for today. Thank you for listening, downloading, and supporting your friend and your brother from another mother. I'm hoping that this week was a good show for you. It was for me. If so, please feel free to share it with somebody and tell others about the black man with a gun. And I got a request for you. Don't let me forget to let your smile change the world. But don't let the world change your smile. Just in case nobody has told you this today, I love you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Until next time, shalom, baby. Hey, this is a PS of the podcast. Again, I want to say thank you for listening, downloading, and supporting this show. Thank you for being a part of my life and making me want to do this thing every week for 12 years. Yeah, it's been that long. I am a creative joker. If I'm not making something, I'll explode. Well, one of the things that I've done outside of the firearms world is I've started a book series, a fictional series, about a blues-playing werewolf named Solomon Love. I'm up to book 3. I'm waiting on my editor to get back to me, and I've created a whole website to talk about it and to be a part of it and to start this thing. It's a pro-gun blues-playing werewolf. How about that? Do me a favor, really. Check it out at kenblanchard.com. Look for Solomon Love. I got 2 books so far. Where the Moss Grows and Voodoo Child on Amazon.com. Thanks. That's kenblanchard.com.